This is the LG C1, arguably LG's most popular OLED TV. Let's take a look. This year's LG OLEDs are absolutely fantastic, and they have brought with them a bunch of new features that improve things dramatically, especially when it comes to gaming. Now, because of that, the LG C1 is a big leap on last year, and it is definitely one of the best OLEDs that LG have produced. First of all, looking at this thing, it is stunning. It's not too dissimilar to the LG CX, in fact it's almost identical. You got the super slim design common with OLEDs, and you have this gorgeous brushed metal stand. The TV comes in 5 different sizes. You have a 48 inch, a 55 inch, which is the model I'll be looking at today, a 65 inch, a 77 inch, and an 83 inch. That is a pretty impressive range, and I'd love to see the 83 inch, but I'll be honest with you, even the 55 inch is magnificent. Now, this TV looks amazing. You have tiny flushed in bezels of about 8mm. At the top, the depth of the screen is only 4mm. Other than when you go down to the bottom, it does go back about 42mm. Now, if you do choose to have the TV on the stand will protrude forward about 45mm. At the back, that will stick out 58mm. I would say this stand might be one of my favourites of this year's TVs. It is very heavy, which does give you a lot of confidence when you're putting over £1,000 worth of kit attached to it, and the brushed metal finish is really gorgeous. Depending on which LG TV you go for, you will get a different size stand. The C1 has the largest, widest stand, the B1 has a slightly smaller stand, and if you go for the A1, you only have tiny legs. Inside the stand, you do have a bit of cable management, which is nice to see. Very simple, easy to use, wires go in the middle and you clip the lid on top. On the back of the TV, you have 2 sections for ports, some that are accessible via the side and some that are only accessible via the back. You get 3 USB ports, a cable in, satellites in, you have an Ethernet port, auxiliary and optical audio out. You also get 4 HDMI ports, which is really useful. One of those audio ports is an enhanced audio return channel, but all of the ports are HDMI 2.1. This is really good to see and brings a hell of a lot of features for people who are going to be gaming, and we'll get onto that later in the video. Now, having a little look at the remote. It's a very similar design to last year's LG OLEDs, but if you have seen one of those, it is ever so slightly different. You have all of your numbers at the top of the remote and your volume buttons, channel buttons up there. You have a few different buttons to make sure you can get home easily, get to settings or source inputs quite quickly. You have this little directional arrow area, and you also get a scroll wheel. You then get some nice little quick shortcuts to certain apps. The ones they've gone for on this remote are Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, and Rakuten TV. It would be nice if they went for something like they have on the Panasonic, where you can have your own shortcut to an app of your choice, but at the moment this will have to do. You also have buttons on the remote for different voice assistants. First of all, this microphone button in the middle is for LG's Think system. That is a system that is built into the TV and works with LG and their smart home equipment. You also have compatibility for Google Home and Alexa with shortcuts on the remote. You can also do things like turn off the lights, close the blinds, and considering for a lot of people the TV is the hub of the home, it is quite nice to see that they have this integration. Now, LG's WebOS system is a bit like Marmite for some people. Some people really love it and other people hate it, and I can sort of see why both people have these arguments. First of all, there are a few reasons that make a lot of sense for that. You do have a very clear homepage that has absolutely everything on it, and for some people that's great and some people that's really horrible. The benefit of having everything on it is that everything is very accessible, which means you just have to press the home button and you can very quickly get onto a certain app. The issue with that is that the homepage is ridiculously busy. It is super crowded and there is so much going on, and it is very easy to get distracted. One of the features of the remote that's pretty cool with the WebOS is the fact that the remote works a little bit like a Wii remote. It means you can wave the remote around and use that to actually point at things and click them, so you're not having to click your way through the massive menus. It does make it a lot easier and quicker to get through these menus. What is nice about that as well is that that feature works with third-party apps, which means you can go onto apps like Netflix and you can use that Wii remote feature. Now, moving away from that, let's get on to one of the main reasons why you're probably considering buying this TV. The picture. Now, what is the picture like? How does it look? Well, it is absolutely unbelievably good. And I know I probably sound like I'm exaggerating, but this honestly is one of the nicest TVs I've ever watched. I'll be honest with you, watching programs on this is better than real life. I generally feel like my eyes improve when I'm watching this TV. The picture is that good. Now, first of all, this is an OLED TV. That means the picture is made up with loads and loads and loads of self-lit pixels. Basically, the pixels produce their own light. What that means compared to something like an LED TV is that when something is black, that part of the screen can actually be switched off, and that to the accuracy of a pixel. So blacks are black. They're not grey, they're not dark grey, they're not really dark grey, they're black. And you'd be surprised, but having those dark blacks adds a level of realism to TVs that is really hard to comprehend unless you've experienced it. Now, one of the problems of the TV being an OLED is that when all of the pixels have to light themselves individually, they struggle to get as bright as something with a full array of LED lights at the back. That means if you're looking at an LED TV, there's a good chance it's going to be a lot brighter than an OLED TV. And there are a couple of advantages to having a brighter TV. First of all, if you're watching a TV in a bright room with a lot of light sources or a lot of windows, it's going to be a lot easier to see an LED TV, and an OLED is going to struggle a lot more with reflections. The other benefit to having a brighter TV is for things like HDR content. Let's say your TV can get up to 600 nits, which is one of the units of measuring brightness. You have that as your scale to be able to show a picture, and on an OLED you can go from 0 to 600. Now, if you have an LED TV which can get, let's say, twice as bright, and you have 1200 nits, even if the dimmest it will go is 200 nits, you can still get a much larger range of brightness. So when you're watching HDR content, you can actually get a more fuller picture with a brighter TV. Now, it's not to say that HDR on this TV is bad. It's not. It looks phenomenal. So this TV does support HDR and Dolby Vision and all of that, and it is honestly breathtaking. Now, I do advise, if you do buy this TV or you go to see one in person, open up Netflix and have a look at some of their content. There is a lot of HDR 4K content on Netflix, and a lot of that is Dolby Vision. A few that I'd recommend are things like The Witcher or David Attenborough's Our Planet. I'll be honest, if you watch something like that, you'll be completely blown away by the picture on this thing. And no, I'm not going to show you what it looks like because I'll get done for copyright, but trust me, it looks amazing. Another benefit of all the pixels lighting themselves individually is that you don't get certain issues that are common with LED TVs. And that is things like dirty screen effect, where certain areas of the screen can be brighter because they're closer to the light source than others. The TV is a 4K panel, and ultimately you wouldn't need more than that. Having seen 8K TVs buy 4K TVs, unless you're sat really close to it, you're not necessarily going to notice the difference. And also, looking at what content is available out there, the fact that it's 4K is definitely more than enough, and I wouldn't ever worry about going for something that's 8K. Now, this year's TVs have new processors, and the performance of this TV is outstanding. First of all, with the operating system, you can zip through things super quickly and it doesn't lag behind. You don't feel like you're waiting to get through menus. But also, this TV is really good at pulling frames quickly and having a very quick refresh rate. And actually, the TV does it so quickly it can be almost too sharp, and in some things you can get judders. Luckily, the TV has something called motion smoothing, which can iron that out. It does mean that you might get a little bit of soap opera effect, but you can turn it off. So if you're one of those people that hates the soap opera effect and you want to turn it off, you can do. But yes, this TV is 120 Hz. And what that means is that the response times and the lag times are minuscule, and that is ideal for gaming. One of the things that helps you stay immersed and gives you that technical advantage when you're playing games is the refresh rate. If you are seeing things exactly as they're happening, and when you're putting an input into it, it is happening as quickly as humanly can be possible in front of your eyes, it's going to make your gaming much more immersive. So what is gaming like on this? Well, it's fantastic. This TV has a high refresh rate of 120 Hz, and it supports things like FreeSync, G-Sync, VRR, and all of those things give you a much better and much more advantageous gaming experience. Those things mixed in with the HDR, the realistic dark blacks, the 4K resolution, you're going to be having one of the most immersive gaming experiences that you can have on a TV. And if you pair that up with one of the newest generation consoles, especially the PS5 or the Xbox Series X, this TV is going to be getting as much out of those consoles as it possibly can. It honestly is an absolutely fantastic gaming experience. When you go into picture setting modes when you're playing a game, it will actually open up this game optimizer menu, and you can switch between different types of gaming modes, whether it be role-playing games or first-person shooters. You can get the best possible settings for the game that you're playing. So if you get this TV, what is the sound like? Do you need to get a soundbar? Well, this TV actually sounds pretty good. The TV has downfiring sound, which fires down at the base of the TV and then bounces into the room, and that actually gives you a pretty good sound. Now, if you have it wall mounted, you are going to lose a little bit of that, but it's not going to be a massive difference. What I would say though is that it is definitely worth getting a soundbar. The TV supports Dolby Atmos, which means you're going to be getting a really good sound if you decide to put in a soundbar that supports that. And honestly, I think the difference between a lot of TVs nowadays, most people forget how important the sound is. And if you want to make the most out of your experience with this TV, I would 100% recommend also getting a good sound system to complement it. The TV does have an eARC port on the back of it, so you can have a HDMI lead coming out of that going into a soundbar to give you the best high fidelity sound. So who should be buying this TV? Well, if you're watching this video, you're going to be hoping I'm going to say you. So I'm going to throw off a few things and you can tick off whether this is you. So first of all, this TV is going to be great for gamers. Those extra features supporting FreeSync and G-Sync, having 120Hz and that variable refresh rate, especially now that we have these newer consoles, that is going to be a feature that is going to make a huge difference to a lot of gamers. And other people I would recommend this to are people who want a super immersive cinema experience. If you're the type of person who really likes getting into your films and your TV shows, this is going to be a TV for you. Having those deep immersive blacks with the Dolby Vision support, it just looks phenomenal. And this TV will go toe to toe with almost every competitor you put next to it. Now, the people who this might not be for, and this might not be people, but this might just be a category of what room you have. Now, this TV might be amazing for you as a person, but you might not have the space to accommodate it. If this TV is going to be going into a bright room with a lot of windows and a lot of light sources, then honestly I wouldn't recommend it. Because the TV can't get as bright as some other TVs, the reflections might drive you to the point of insanity, or at least the level where you're bordering up your windows so you're living in a dark, damp pit. And I don't want that for you. If you're going to be getting this TV, it needs to go in a place where you're going to be able to make the most of it. If you only watch your TV at night anyway, and you're not going to have that issue with lighting, yeah, that's fine. But if that could potentially be an issue, definitely have a strong think about it before you buy this. Now, prices. I'm going to be doing another video to go through the prices and the deals and why actually right now is probably the best time to buy this. So if you want to see that video, you can click here to go to that one, or you can click this video to see my review of the LG A1, LG's entry-level OLED.